Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, if you've looked at the tech headlines recently, I imagine your reaction was pretty similar to ours, just total informational whiplash. Seriously. The sources we got this week, it felt less like, a stack of announcements and more like a complete operational overhaul of the internet. It really felt like maybe 5 years of innovation crammed into 5 days. So our mission for this deep dive is to try and make some sense of that chaos. We aren't here just to recap the newsfeed. We need to pull out the crucial, the durable nuggets that show exactly how AI is fundamentally changing the most basic digital tools you interact with every single day. Starting with the browser, moving through your corporate tools, and ending up right in your shopping cart. We need to figure out the core story driving this incredible velocity.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here isn't just the quantity of announcements, though that's part of it. It's the speed of competitive implementation. It's really striking. This past week wasn't about incremental research papers, was it? It was about defining the next generation of digital infrastructure, who controls the interface, who holds the data, and, critically, who's addressing the immediate, pretty profound risks that come with this kind of speed. The velocity itself is, well, it's the story.
Okay, let's start with the most immediate flashpoint then. The fastest moving front seems clearly to be the browser wars. I mean, for decades, the browser has been a passive window, right? You type in a URL, you read the page, maybe manage a million tabs. But that passive era, it seems officially dead because OpenAI just stepped in and launched Atlas.
Atlas is a huge strategic move. It completely redefines that default relationship you have with the web. It's a new browser built, specifically around deep ChatGPT integration. It basically turns the browser into a genuinely interactive AI workspace.
And the key detail seems to be the seamless nature of it all, right? You can chat with ChatGPT about the content you're viewing, you can summarize articles, perform tasks, without ever having to switch tabs. It removes that barrier between browsing and AI interaction almost entirely. It makes the AI an integrated layer over the whole web experience.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting, competitively speaking. Just 2 days after Atlas dropped, Microsoft launches a strikingly similar AI-powered browser, deeply integrated with Copilot.
Wow, the speed of that response is just breathtaking. It's a direct mirroring of features, isn't it? Web navigation, content summarization, that in-page AI assistance. It signals that this isn't just like a feature upgrade. It feels more like an industry consensus forming in real time.
It absolutely is. It signals that the biggest players view the browser, that universal access point for everyone, as the next major battleground for conversational, context-aware AI interfaces. It's not just about optimizing loading times anymore. It's about controlling the user's primary decision point. If your AI sits right there alongside the content and gives immediate answers, it starts to displace the traditional search engine model and, crucially, all the advertising revenue tied to that model.
Right. So the browser is the external window to the web. Makes sense. But what happens when AI moves from interacting with the external web to handling your highly sensitive internal company data? That's where the focus seems to shift, towards the collaborative AI workplace. And OpenAI is simultaneously pushing to transform how businesses function from the inside out. They detailed 2 major updates aimed squarely at collaboration and internal knowledge management. The first one is called Company Knowledge.
And this update is really crucial for large organizations, I think. It lets businesses securely integrate their internal data. We're talking connections to tools people use every day, like Google Drive, Confluence, SharePoint, directly into their enterprise ChatGPT instance. This isn't just about fun AI conversations anymore. This is a pretty profound IT and security decision for a company to make.
That's exactly right. The idea is that employees can now get fast, context-aware answers directly within ChatGPT just by asking about their own company's documents or policies or maybe proprietary research. It effectively turns the large language model into a kind of corporate knowledge assistant. It could streamline complex workflows, improve HR responses, maybe reduce that agonizing time people spend searching internal drives and wikis.
Yeah, digging through those silos. And that whole concept of collaboration, it's being extended beyond just internal documents with their second update. Shared projects. This feature is now available to all users, apparently, transforming the platform into more of a true collective workspace. Teams can now collaborate in real time right on the platform, so multiple users can share prompts, they can review the output history together, and collectively build and refine complex AI workflows. Think about things like market research reports or product development ideas. It makes the output less reliant on just one person being, a prompt genius.
That definitely feels like vertical competition heating up.
Yeah.
But if we connect this back to the bigger picture, it's not just OpenAI driving these kinds of collaborative tools, is it? Competition is definitely getting fierce in specific professional areas, particularly coding.
Oh, absolutely. Anthropic has brought Claude Code to the web. Now, developers have been using code models via APIs for a while now, but this is big. It expands access beyond those API users and puts a powerful new tool directly into the hands of the broader developer community through a dedicated web interface.
Okay, so instead of messing with integrating an API manually,
Yeah.
developers can now write, debug, and collaborate on code directly in a cloud environment, using Claude's reasoning and maybe its autocomplete capabilities in real time. So it's making these specialized AI tools immediately accessible and competitive with other established code assistants out there.
Precisely. It lowers the barrier to entry for using these advanced coding tools.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. Let's leave the code and the internal documents for a moment and move to the immediate, tangible market impact, the shopping cart. We really have to discuss the massive signal sent by that partnership between Walmart and OpenAI.
That news hit, and bam, Walmart shares jumped to an all-time high. It confirms the market sees this not as some tech curiosity, but as a critical strategic weapon. The collaboration, according to the sources, is focused on integrating advanced AI tools across their retail and logistics operations.
Right. Specifically, the sources talked about enhancing customer service, getting much more optimized supply chain forecasting, like predicting demand and stocking needs way better, and even in-store automation. Investors clearly saw this deal as Walmart's major play to compete head-on with Amazon's tech dominance, basically by leveraging AI for operational efficiency.
But Amazon, the giant they're trying to catch, isn't just sitting still focusing only on back-end efficiency right now. What stands out to you here is Amazon's countermove. It seemed focused squarely on building consumer trust.
That's right. I found that really interesting. They launched a new AI shopping assistant. But it doesn't just recommend products, it actually explains why it's making those recommendations. It's an interesting pivot towards transparency, isn't it?
It really is. It uses their own proprietary AI models to analyze millions of reviews, product specs, and crucially, your personal shopping behavior. Then it provides clear conversational reasoning behind every single suggestion. It really raises an important question, I think. In a world just saturated with AI recommendations, is the ability to explain the reasoning the new key to increasing consumer trust and ultimately conversion rates?
I think it might be because things are moving so fast, people are starting to demand, to see the math, so to speak, show your work. And that demand for customization and sort of proprietary control extends into the creative sector too. Moving past general commerce, Adobe has introduced Foundry. This is a powerful new service aimed squarely at enterprises, particularly in marketing and content creation.
Foundry lets businesses build and train their own generative AI models, but using Adobe's infrastructure. Now, why does this matter? Let's think about it. If a major brand, let's say Adidas, wants an AI to create an image of a new shoe, they absolutely cannot afford for the AI to introduce random colors or use an outdated logo or pull in conflicting brand imagery from the open web. That'd be disastrous. So Foundry allows them to train a model strictly on their own brand guidelines, their specific product photography library, their established style guides. This enables really brand-specific AI capabilities for creative work, for marketing, for content workflows. It ensures every piece of AI-generated content perfectly adheres to their precise brand aesthetic. It's like building a customized walled garden for your creative AI.
It's truly amazing how quickly these systems are accelerating. But the sources we reviewed this week didn't just focus on the shiny new innovations. They also raised some immediate and pretty stark alarms about the inherent friction and, frankly, the fragility this acceleration creates.
Right. And this raises a really important question. Just how resilient is the foundational infrastructure that's powering this hyper-accelerated AI boom? We saw a sharp, pretty painful reminder this week with that widespread Amazon Web Services AWS DNS outage.
Yeah, that caused some chaos. For listeners who might not be deep in the technical details, can you maybe briefly explain what exactly happened there with Route 53 and CloudFront and why a DNS outage is so, devastating?
Sure. Think of the domain name system, DNS, as basically the Internet's phone book. It translates the simple website names we type, like google.com, into the complex numerical IP addresses computers use to find each other. When a major centralized DNS service like AWS's Route 53 fails, which it did, that phone book effectively goes offline for huge chunks of the Internet. The result this week was a severe disruption to major websites, cloud services, applications globally, because requests simply couldn't figure out where to go. Traffic couldn't be routed. And this incident starkly highlights the fragility of global internet infrastructure, especially when it is so heavily concentrated under just a few major cloud providers. Everything's moving faster, yes, but that speed is still entirely dependent on a few centralized choke points that, well, can fail catastrophically.
That's the infrastructure risk, definitely sobering. But there's also the immediate risk to personal identity that came up repeatedly this week as well. We saw this growing conflict over deepfakes and the urgent need for detection technology. OpenAI, probably responding to public pressure, launched new detection tech aimed at spotting and preventing AI-generated deepfakes.
And almost immediately, that action sparked backlash from major Hollywood creative groups. Their argument is that overly sensitive detection technology, while intended for protection, could inadvertently limit creative freedom. Things like parody content or satire, or even just the ability to use AI tools for legitimate artistic purposes. It's a very real, very complex tension between the need for security and the need for creative license. There's no easy answer there.
Meanwhile, we saw YouTube tackling the issue directly on its own platform, providing a more practical tool for potential victims.
That's right. YouTube launched a likeness detection system. It uses machine learning to identify and flag AI-generated content that mimics real people without their consent. So, unlike a broad regulatory approach, this system is a practical, user-facing control mechanism.
And the key part is that it allows individuals to actually request takedowns of deepfake content that uses their image or voice without permission. The synthesis here seems pretty obvious. The race to innovate to generate AI content is now immediately creating an equally urgent race to regulate, detect, and protect individual identity.
It's really a battle happening on multiple layers all at once. You've got the platform layer, like YouTube's tool. You've got the generator layer with OpenAI's detection efforts. And then there's the regulatory layer, with Hollywood lobbying and governments starting to pay attention. Protection is rapidly becoming just as critical a business vertical as generation itself.
That is a perfect way to encapsulate the week's acceleration, I think. We saw the fundamental definition of our digital interface shift with that AI browser race between Atlas and Copilot. We saw collaboration moving into the cloud with shared projects and Claude Code. And we saw massive market transformations like the Walmart OpenAI deal and the rise of Adobe Foundry for custom AI.
The competition shown in these sources is just. It's multifaceted and really fascinating to watch unfold. It's clearly about who controls the new digital access point, that AI browser. It's also about who can build the most secure, the most useful, the most context-aware enterprise tools. But beneath all that strategic maneuvering, I think it comes back to basic trust. The concentration of power under a few players definitely accelerates innovation at an astonishing rate, but it simultaneously exposes these huge vulnerabilities, both in the global internet infrastructure we all rely on, as we saw with the AWS outage, and in protecting individual identity from sophisticated digital mimicry.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to maybe mull over as we watch these developments continue to unfold at, well, breakneck speed. As these companies race to provide custom brand-specific AI, like Adobe Foundry, how quickly will we reach a point where maybe every piece of media you see, every line of code that's written, every shopping recommendation you get, is generated and explained by an AI trained only on that specific brand's worldview or its internal data set? What will we gain in efficiency and customization? Sure, but what might we lose when the internet perhaps ceases to be this messy, diverse pool of information and instead becomes thousands of highly customized, perhaps quite isolated brand-specific AI knowledge silos? Something to think about. We'll leave you with that thought for now. We'll see you next time for the next deep dive.